sometimes gapping has its limitations. Sometimes you have to live within the constraints of the harmonica, so you gap tighter so you can hit those notes. Or if a note is sticky, you have to open up the gaps, and then the bends don't come in as easily. And you try to find, you know, folks say you gap to preference, but really you're gapping to make the best out of what you have to your preference. Well, these are things that can give you more to work with. Hi, Andrew Zajac. I'm going to talk to you about how you install my comb. You don't need fancy tools. You could do this. It's very easy. Pour yourself a beverage, have a cup of tea, and let's do this. We have here just a stock, out of the box, Hohner Blue Midnight. A Blue Midnight is an MS series harmonica. Those bends are a little bit hard to land on. The notes are a little bit mushy. Like the 3 draw, that bend is that first semitone is there. The 3 blow is pretty tight, however. By making the harmonica airtight, we can give you more room so you can open up those gaps, still get the harmonica to respond and play those notes, and you have more range. It's one of the top 3 or 4 things you can do to widen that dynamic range. First thing we're going to do is take the harmonica apart. I have a nice clean white piece of paper, mostly because it makes it easy to see on the camera. I have a screwdriver. This is a posi drive screwdriver. You could do this work with just a regular Phillips head screwdriver. It'll get the job done. You won't wreck anything. Notice I put one finger on the bottom to have it, to make it hold still, and I turn the top. And I just discard that. I'm going to take the plates off. And these are the draw reeds because they're outside of the harmonica. This is the blow plate because the reeds are on the inside of the harmonica. If you look inside, you can see the rivet tips. When you look inside the harmonica, you see the blow reed rivets. So remember that when you're trying to figure out which way things go. Another way to look at that is the rivets all line up for the blow plate, but the rivets don't line up on the draw plate. On the draw plate, it's the tips of the reeds that line up. See this straight line? So those are 2 clues to help you figure out which way everything goes on the harmonica. So take out these screws that hold the reed plates onto the comb. This is the comb that we're going to get rid of. This is the new comb, and it's ready to go. It's as flat as I can make it, and I work quite a bit to make each and every one of them flat. For now, we're going to put the blow plate on, and I want to just draw attention to the draw plate. The draw plate on many harmonicas, the rivets stick out. The rivet ends, the tips of the rivets stick out. So we're going to sand that down, and you're not damaging your reed plate, you're not damaging your harmonica, and you're also going to straighten the whole plate. The whole plate will have better contact, better mating with this flat comb. All right, and this is necessary to do because many of the combs, they leave room for these rivets, and you lose air tightness because there's less contact. My rooms have maximal contact, so we need to clean this up. So we're going to take a flat surface. This is just a flat board. I got it at the dollar store, and we're gonna. I've put 220 grit sandpaper, taped it down flat so that it doesn't curl up or anything. We're gonna put the side that we want to flat sand straight down. I just have a little bit of humidity here, a little bit of water, just to make my hands a little bit rubbery, right? A little bit, take away the traction. I'm going to apply pressure all over the reed plate and turn in one direction 5 times and the other direction. And I'll keep doing this until it starts to feel different. The traction feels different. So I'm going to give this just a little shake to shake out any dust particles, and we can look. Can you see on the camera that this is nice and light in these areas, but it's still dark here, here, and here? Can you see that? Yes, okay. So that means that I've flattened this, and this still hasn't touched the sandpaper. So when this was on the comb, this wasn't touching the comb, or there wasn't as much surface contact in these low spots. You'll do this and you'll find sometimes it's quite dramatic. This is actually not too bad, and it's fixable. So we're going to do the same. We're going to flat sand this until it's if you want to change things up, and I recommend you do, just rotate that 180 degrees, just so you distribute your finger weight. We don't want to sand hard in one spot. We want to sand lightly everywhere so everything evens out. Okay? So I've sanded. Again, I'm going to give it a little tap. You see how much of that brass? I don't want that brass to get in under the reeds and affect the tuning. So I'll just knock it out. Now, there's a little bit of a high spot here, but it doesn't matter. It's the channel, each channel has enough surface to make a good seal. So I'm going to accept this. We're just going to take your comb, put the long slots to your left, because the low holes are on your left when you play the harmonica, usually, traditionally. Take any two of the plates. I picked this plate up and I noticed the rivets all line up. So that's the blow plate that goes on top, and the rivets go inside the sandwich. Okay? This is the draw plate. I know it's the draw plate. If I would have picked it up first, I'd know it's the draw plate because all the reeds line up. All the tips of the reeds line up, and the rivets aren't in a straight line. And so these reeds go on the outside of the sandwich. Now, I just feel as I put this together, it feels solid, that it makes a lot of contact, like it's airtight. So we'll just drop these screws in. My combs have oval shaped holes, which means if you like your comb to sit back like a Marine Band 1896, it has those two reed plates sticking out. If you like your comb to sit that way, you can position it that way. If you like the tips to be flush, you could set them flush. If you want them to protrude a little bit, you could, some folks even like to take my combs and round the tines so they stick out a little bit. You could do that too. Contact me and I'll let you know how to do that. So a simple way to assemble the comb is put the screws in, tighten them but not all the way, or go all the way and then loosen just a little bit, just so that you can wiggle the plates around. Put everything down. Press downwards. Press downwards and everything will line up. Take a look at it on one side and the other, and I see this reed plate's a little bit higher, so I was a little bit curved. I was a little bit tilted to one side. So everything is now perfectly lined up just the way I like it. I like it flush, so everything at the same level. Tighten your screws to lock that in, and you've installed your comb. Put the cover plates back on. The covers with the numbers, the cover plate with the numbers goes on top. Hold it with one finger. The cover plate with no numbers goes on the bottom. The bottom side nut, and put it in on one side, and use one finger to hold it in place, just so it doesn't spin as we try to tighten the screw. Same thing, I'm going to put one of the screws in. Tighten almost all the way. Again, we want to wiggle this around. We need to line up. Sometimes this hole isn't lined up with one of the cover plates. So we need that wiggle room. Hold it with the finger. Put the other one in. Now, your harmonica will, if it's a sandwich type harmonica, like this one, it will have a groove. So make sure that cover plate is clicked into the groove on the top and the bottom. Make sure it's centered the way you like it, and then lock them in by tightening them. Don't over tighten, you don't need to. Finger tighten, just tight enough so that they don't fall out. Well, to me the difference is dramatic. I get more power. It's loud. So there you go. That's how easy it is to install a dark comb in your harmonica.